Good morning, everybody. Pastor Stitch, Narrow Path Christian Church, BC, Bay City, Michigan. Welcome to the Biker Devotional. There's a subject that I very rarely spend time talking about because I don't want people to get hung up on that's all he ever talks about. And that's money. That's about your finances. It's about your faithfulness to the Lord with those finances. And sometimes I think I do you a discredit by not talking about it because it's so important in your life and God does have things to say about it. But I also know for me that when somebody spent all their time, that's all they talked about. They were either a prosperity gospel type person and all they wanted to do was talk about getting rich, which turned me off, or all they wanted to do was talk about what the church needed, and that turned me off. But God does talk about money. He does talk about your finances. He does talk about your first fruits. Today in Proverbs chapter 3, verses 9 and 10, it says this: "Honor the Lord with your possessions and with your first produce of your entire harvest. Then the barns will be completely filled and your vats will overflow with new wine." And so I want to tell you something. First and foremost, I know this is true. Now, I am not rich. I don't pretend to be rich. But my wife and I have been blessed with life that continues to move forward. And when we rely on God, the stress really is minimized. I can't say it's gone because I'm still Jay, and Jay worries about everything, even though he knows he shouldn't. But that's not God's fault. That's my fault, right? But I wanted to point something out to you with this whole thing. Everybody says you got to give your tithe to the church and all of this. So there's something I've learned. This says, honor God, the creator of heaven and earth, Yahweh, with your possessions and with your first harvest, the first of your harvest. If you do that, you'll have more than enough. What he's saying is, when you receive it, set aside the first part of it for God. Everything else, it's yours. But everything you do with it should be honoring to God. And if you do those two things, it's amazing what happens to it. It happens in your life. Now, what's it mean to honor God with all of it? It means exactly that. Put Him as your priority. You know, it talks about giving to the church and all of that, and that's a great place to give. A church can't keep its doors open if the people aren't giving. But the reality is there's people in the world that need help. And if you see somebody and you feel prompted to give them something, that is honoring the Lord. It is. It's not about giving to the church. It's about honoring the Lord. So it's not nearly as difficult, and it's not about filling the coffers of a building or an organization. It's about doing what God requires, and when you do that, He will make sure that you are fully provided for. So this morning, are you willing to make that commitment? And then stick to it. I can tell you my experience proves it to be true. But unless you're willing to live it out, even when it's difficult, you won't know that. God is always on time God, right? Which means He's always late for me because I'm 20 minutes early. And on time for Him might be 10 minutes after I thought I needed it. But it's always perfect. And it always works. It always works out. It's always difficult for me because I'm broken, not God. And had I not remembered that it's His timing, not mine, I would have quit years ago and never received any of the blessings that my wife and I see today. I wouldn't be where I'm at. We probably wouldn't be married today. Definitely wouldn't be in a good position today where we can continue to pay our bills on time the way God expects us to, had I not followed through on what these lessons are. So again, it's not about giving to the church. It's about honoring God. Proverbs 3, 9 and 10. Honor the Lord with your possessions and with the first produce of your entire harvest. Then your barns will be completely filled and your vats will overflow with new wine. How are you honoring God? I love you all. I hope you have a great day. God bless.